Okay, I want you to picture a scenario. It's a Tuesday night. You're completely exhausted from work. Your brain is just fried.
Hmm.
And you've got that itch, the one where you think, I just need to get away.
Yeah.
So you open your laptop, pull up a travel site, and you start dreaming. You're picturing yourself, you know, holding a glass of wine in a piazza or maybe hiking in the Alps. It looks perfect. It looks restorative.
And then reality crashes the party.
It crashes hard because suddenly you are not in a piazza. You are deep in the trenches of browser tabs.
So many tabs.
You're reading the 45th review of a hotel that might have bed bugs or it might be paradise. You just can't tell anymore. And by the time you actually book the thing, you're more stressed than when you started.
It's the classic modern paradox, isn't it? We
Yeah.
travel to recharge, but the act of planning the travel just drains our battery before we even leave the house.
Exactly. It's the I need a vacation from my vacation syndrome. And that is what we are deep diving into today.
Right.
We have a source that completely flips the script on this. It's called the Well Traveled Playbook, written by Daniela from World Traveler Oasis. And I have to say, when I first looked at it, I thought it was going to be another list of top 10 hidden gems in Tuscany.
Right. Another guidebook. But it's not a guidebook at all.
No, it's almost like a manifesto or a philosophy textbook for your suitcase. It is not telling you where to go. It's telling you how to think so you don't lose your mind.
That is the key distinction. The playbook argues that we've optimized the joy out of travel. We treat a trip like a project at work.
Efficiency, maximum output, hit all the KPIs.
Exactly. But the goal of travel isn't efficiency. It's restoration. And the source makes a very strong case that restoration doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design.
The tagline really hooked me. Choosing well, traveling smart, arriving restored.
That last part is the key.
It is. Arriving restored, that's the metric we usually fail on.
Yeah.
I usually arrive and eating a nap for 3 days.
Which defeats the whole purpose. So the playbook breaks this down into a few pillars. And the first one is choosing well.
Okay, let's get into that. Because honestly, this section called me out immediately. When I start planning, I start with geography. I grab a globe, metaphorically, and I point and say, I want to go to Japan or Paris.
Which is what 99% of us do. But the source argues that's actually the wrong first step. Experienced travelers don't start with where. They start with fit.
Fit. Okay, unpack that for us.
It's about your internal state versus the external environment. Before you even pick a country, you have to ask yourself, how do I want to feel?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to be stimulated and challenged? Do you want to be social? Or do you need to be completely anonymous and quiet?
Because those are two completely different trips.
Totally different. And here's the trap. Let's say you are burnt out. You need deep rest. But you book a high-octane trip to Tokyo or New York City because your friends went last year and said it was a must-see.
Right.
You're taking a need for rest into an environment that is designed for hustle.
You're fighting the current.
You are. You're setting yourself up for failure before you even pack a sock. The playbook says clarity here acts as a filter. If you just admit to yourself, I'm exhausted, I need quiet, you suddenly delete half the map.
Yeah, you stop looking at London or New York.
And you start looking at the Dolomites or the Cotswolds. It just stops the analysis paralysis.
That makes so much sense. It's not about where is best. It's about what matches your own battery level.
Exactly.
Now, tied to this is timing. And I don't just mean when can I get time off. The source treats timing as a strategic weapon.
This is the argument for the shoulder season.
I've always been a peak season guy. I figure if everyone goes in July, there must be a reason. It's when everything's open, the weather is guaranteed.
That's not easy.
It's the best time.
Ideally, yeah. But practically, peak season is an endurance sport. You're fighting for space on the sidewalk. You're fighting for dinner reservations.
You're paying premium prices for a suboptimal experience because everything is so crowded.
Yes. There is nothing less relaxing than standing in a line for 2 hours to see a painting you can't even get close to.
So true.
The playbook calls the shoulder season, those weeks just before or after the big rush, the season of breathing room. You get a more authentic rhythm. The locals aren't exhausted by tourists yet.
You can actually walk into a cafe without a reservation.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
You trade a tiny bit of weather certainty for a massive gain in sanity.
Breathing room. I like that. That sounds like what I actually want from a trip. But now we have to talk about the hardest pill to swallow in this whole document. This is the part where I actually argued with the text while I was reading it. It's the art of restraint.
Ah, yes. The fewer places rule.
The source says, and I quote, most travel friction doesn't come from lack of information. It comes from decisions made too quickly. And the advice is Take your itinerary, look at the number of stops, and just cut one, delete it.
This is so hard for people because of what you could call value anxiety. We think, I paid $2,000 for this flight. I need to see everything to get my money's worth.
Yes, if I'm going to Europe, I want to see London, Paris, and Rome. If I cut Rome, I feel like I'm losing money.
But the playbook flips the math on that.
Yeah.
It argues that if you have 3 major cities in 9 days, you aren't seeing 3 cities. You're seeing 3 train stations and 3 hotel lobbies.
You lose half a day packing, half a day traveling, half a day recovering.
So by adding more stops, you're actually subtracting time from the real experience. You're diluting it. If it feels rushed on paper, it will feel chaotic in reality.
Right.
By cutting that 3rd city, you aren't losing a destination. You're gaining the energy to actually enjoy the first 2. You're preserving your capacity for wonder.
That's a great point. It's quality over quantity, but for logistics.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we've listened. We picked the right vibe, the right season. We're not sprinting across a continent. Now we have to book the logistics.
Yeah.
Section 2, traveling smart.
This is where the source introduces the energy economy.
I love this term, energy economy.
It basically says you have 2 bank accounts on a trip. You have your money and you have your energy. And we are usually misers with the money and just reckless spenders with the energy.
Oh, guilty. I will absolutely take the flight with 2 layovers to save $150.
And that's the classic mistake. The playbook is very firm on this. Not all flight decisions carry equal weight. If you save that $150, but you arrive depleted, zombie-like, irritable,
It takes 2 days to recover from.
then you have essentially torched 20% of your vacation time to save a tiny fraction of the budget.
Yeah.
It's just bad math. The advice is direct routes are an investment in your energy bank.
It's buying your own sanity.
It is. And if you must connect, the source says choose the long buffer. Don't do the 45-minute sprint through Heathrow where you're sweating and praying the gate is still open.
Oh, the worst.
Give yourself 3 hours, eat a meal, walk around. Stop treating transit as a race to be won.
Okay, protect the energy on the way there.
Yeah.
What about where we sleep? The source has a really interesting take on star ratings. It says stars are basically marketing, but what we should care about is flow.
Flow is such a great concept. It just asks, how easy is it to exist on this trip? And the playbook argues for location over luxury.
Give me an example of how that plays out.
Okay, so imagine a 5-star resort.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Marble floors, infinity pool, but it's 45 minutes outside the city center.
Right.
To go explore, you have to take a scheduled shuttle or an expensive taxi. Once you leave in the morning, you are committed. You can't just pop back for a bit.
You're stuck out in the word with your backpack for 12 hours.
Exactly. Now compare that to a solid 3-star hotel that is right in the middle of the neighborhood you want to explore. You go out for coffee, you come back to drop off a jacket, you go to a museum, you come back for a quick nap. The flow is effortless.
So the luxury isn't the thread count of the sheets. The luxury is the accessibility.
Spot on. It's the luxury of flexibility. If you're centrally located, you have options. If you're remote, you have logistics. And logistics drain energy.
This all leads into the broader strategy of simplicity, right? The source mentions there's an elegance in leaving some decisions unmade.
This is critical for the learner type, the person who loves to research everything.
Yeah.
There's a temptation to overplan, to fill every single slot.
Right.
But overplanning creates rigidity. If every hour is accounted for, a simple rainstorm ruins your trip. A train strike ruins your trip.
Or just a bad mood.
Right. But if you have simplicity built in, if you have gaps, those things are just minor inconveniences. You have space to pivot. Simplicity allows for the trip to actually happen to you, rather than you forcing the trip to happen.
That is a perfect segue into Section 3, designing your days. Because even if the flight was direct and the hotel is central, you can still ruin a trip by trying to do too much. And this is where the one anchor rule comes in.
This is probably the most practical, immediately useful tool in the whole playbook.
Walk us through it. Because my itinerary usually looks like a military operation. 0900 hours. Museum. 1100 hours. Brunch. 1300 hours.
Walking tour.
And if the museum line is long, the whole domino chain just collapses and you're stressed. The one anchor rule stops that. The advice is, plan only one meaningful experience that gives the day its shape.
Just one.
Just one. Maybe it's a timed entry to the Colosseum, maybe it's a reservation for a really long, nice lunch, or a specific scenic hike. Once that anchor is in place, everything else becomes optional.
The day has purpose without pressure.
Exactly. If you finish your anchor activity and you're tired, go back to the hotel, You're energetic.
Yeah.
Wander into a shop. You have achieved the point of the day, so you don't have that nagging feeling of, I should be doing more.
That sounds so liberating. It stops the FOMO, the fear of missing out.
It does. And the source adds a little nuance here about when to place that anchor. It suggests front-loading.
Do the hard stuff first. Right. Our cognitive patience and our attention span are naturally highest in the morning. So do the complex navigation or the crowded museum then. Don't try to figure out a complicated subway system at 4 p.m. when your feet hurt and you're hungry.
That is literally when every argument I've ever had on vacation has happened. 4 p.m., hungry and lost.
It's biological. And importantly, the source reminds us, rest is not wasted time. It is what allows you to stay present. That afternoon downtime isn't lazy, it's a recharge strategy so you can actually enjoy the evening.
And speaking of evenings, the playbook has a specific strategy for that too. Let evenings soften.
I love this phrasing. Think about it. After a full day of new environments, foreign languages, deciphering maps, your brain is tired. You have decision fatigue. So the advice is to prioritize familiarity over novelty at night.
So maybe don't book the 12-course experimental tasting menu where you have to guess all the ingredients.
Probably not. That requires work. The source suggests finding a nice neighborhood restaurant, maybe a place you go to twice, or just a quiet stroll with the gelato.
It says, a trip doesn't need to impress you every hour.
That is such a relieving statement. It allows you to just be there. The memories that stick are often the quiet ones, not the ones where you were stressed out trying to be impressed.
Okay, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Money.
Okay.
Section 4 is budgeting with intention.
And notice the phrasing. It's not budgeting to save money. It's budgeting with intention.
What's the difference there?
Well, the view here is that a lot of budgets fail, not because they're too small, but because they're unfocused. Money gets spent reactively on things that don't actually improve the experience.
Like those upgrades that hotels and airlines are always pushing. Upgrade to a sea view for $50.
Precisely. The playbook critiques that whole idea of the upgrade. It asks, will this meaningfully improve how the trip feels day to day? A view you see for 5 minutes before you fall asleep? Probably not. Amenities you don't even use? No.
So where should the money go?
The daily experience rule. Spend on things that influence the entire trip. Accommodation location is the big one we just talked about. Spending extra to be in the city center buys you time and ease every single day. That's a high return on investment.
It also mentions something called the margin.
Yes, the financial cushion. The source argues that the most overlooked budget line is flexibility.
How so?
If every dollar is allocated to a specific activity, train tickets, museum entry, preset meals, you have no freedom. Leaving a margin allows for spontaneity.
Give me a real-world example of the margin in action.
Okay, imagine you're walking around and suddenly the skies open up. It's pouring rain.
Yeah.
If you're on a strict zero margin budget, you're just standing under an awning being miserable.
Right.
But if you have the margin, you can duck into a really nice expensive cafe, order the overpriced hot chocolate and a pastry, you wait it out in comfort.
You turn a potential disaster into a cozy memory.
Exactly. Or maybe you discover a concert is happening that night. With the margin, you can buy tickets. You are buying yourself the ability to say yes to the unexpected. And that flexibility often leads to more enjoyment than an extra planned tour.
So you aren't budgeting for things, you're budgeting for options.
Correct.
Now, sometimes, even with all this advice, planning can just get too complicated. Section 5 tackles when to delegate.
This is an important pivot. We live in this DIY era. We have Booking.com, we have Google Flights. We think because we can do it ourselves, we should.
I have the internet. Why would I pay someone?
But the source frames delegation as a strategic decision. It asks you to recognize the complexity trigger.
What are the triggers?
Multi-city itineraries, tight timelines, or a significant financial investment. If you're spending $10,000 on a honeymoon, or you're trying to coordinate a family reunion with 12 people, the margin for error is massive.
It's like, sure, I can cut my own hair. I own scissors. But if I'm going to my own wedding, I'm probably going to pay a professional.
That's a great analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Travel advisors anticipate bottlenecks you won't see. They know that the train transfer in Milan is actually a 20-minute walk, not 5 minutes, and you're going to miss your connection. They adjust plans before problems arise.
They smooth the path.
They do. The goal, whether you plan it yourself or hire someone, is always the same. A journey that feels intentional, comfortable, and unhurried.
The source actually includes a planning worksheet for this. We won't go through the whole thing, but I like that it emphasizes defining your non-negotiables.
Yes. Listing the, say, 3 experiences that will anchor your memories.
Yeah.
If everything else falls away, These remain. It forces you to prioritize. And this is my favorite part. It explicitly leaves space for rest, discovery, and the unplanned moments,
It literally puts unplanned on the to-do list.
which is the only way to ensure it actually happens.
I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. We've gone through traveling smart, designing your days, but the thread tying it all together is this shift from optimization to creating conditions.
That's the key summary. We spend so much energy trying to optimize the content of the trip, seeing the most, eating the best. But the playbook says, focus on the conditions.
Conditions like having energy because you took a direct flight, conditions like having time because you didn't overbook your day.
And conditions like having peace of mind because you budgeted for flexibility. When you focus on creating the right conditions, the specific memories tend to take care of themselves. You don't have to force them.
So, to our listener, here is the challenge. The next time you're looking at that blank calendar or that flight search engine, try applying just one of these rules.
Just one.
Maybe try the one anchor rule. Or be brave and cut one location from your itinerary.
See how the experience shifts. See if you actually come home feeling like the person you wanted to be when you left.
And here's a final thought to leave you with, something that really struck me reading this. We talk